Hi guys, welcome back to Learning English and Literature. In this video, I will guide you on how to write a right standard narrative or story writing. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and let's reach a wider audience. Narrative writing simply means storytelling. How do you tell your story? WASSCE requires you to write not less than 450 words, and you have 50 minutes to do that for 50 marks. You have to tell a story that will wow the examiner, that will make the examiner long for more. And how do you do that? You must lie. Now, let's forget about religious or supernatural or superstitious beliefs. Most blockbuster movies are based on fictions, which is a lie. If you just tell them a simple, truthful story, the story is going to be boring and you'll just end up with a C. But if you tell them something larger than life, something that will interest them, it doesn't have to be true. Just to make a story interesting, the examiners will award you more marks for your creativity. For example, look at the introduction of the story. I was born in Maiduguri, Borno State, Nigeria in 1999. My father was the richest man in the land. I attended King's College, Lagos and the University of Lagos, Akoka. After my degree, I was employed by one of the best telecommunications companies in the Sahara. There, I met this woman that changed my entire life. She reminded me of my mother. We got married, and that was when the whole saga began. My former wife, whom I thought was dead, resurfaced out of nowhere. Now, this story does not have to be true, okay? But you can see the last sentence of this paragraph builds up a kind of tension, a suspense, something interesting is about to happen. This story might not be true. Definitely this story is not true because you are not married. So just tickle the examiner's ears, okay, with your creativity. Tell them a lie, a good lie. Please do not write stories about vampires or Superman. That is too good to be true, okay? So just give them something creative, okay? Create your own story based on what you've read, what you've seen in movies, what you've experienced, and blend them all together and give them something sweet. If you tell them the truth will send the examiners home to their wives and kids. Lies will keep them busy. Now let's discuss the format. One, a story must have a title. One, the title must be catchy. It must be interesting. And the title must be written in either of these two ways. If the title is The Rise and Fall of Uga, you can make sure the title is centralized. That means it is placed at the center of the page. You can either write it in sentence case like this. And once you do this, please make sure you underline. If you're good, you can also write it in capital block. And once you do that in capital block, please do not underline. For me, I would prefer that you do not, I would prefer you write in capital block to just distinguish the title from the introduction or from the content itself. After the title, you have the introduction. Now, I read one introduction to you guys. I read this introduction to you guys. Now, let's compare this one. The introduction, mind you, is the first paragraph of the play, and it builds the story. This is the foundation of the whole story itself. Let's go. I left my mother 20 years ago without saying a word to her, neither to my father. I had to find my great parents. I don't know when or where I was born. My birthdays were usually false dates, fixed just to make me accept the fact that I'm a normal human being like the other children. My mother once told me it was a miracle I survived in a slump buried with debt. It was a scavenger that excavated the little boy from the hips. She said, the baby smiled and held the scavenger's thumb tightly that he fell in love with the baby at once. That scavenger had taken care of me for 19 years now. You can see this story is not true, but it's enough to tickle the ears of any examiner. Like I said, be creative. You don't need to tell them something true. Just learn how to create your own stories using fiction and using a blend of fiction, real life events, experience, and stories from books you've read. Okay, the introduction is the beginning of the story, which is the exposition. You can get that from types of plot in one of my videos on my channel. The body is the main story, okay? It contains the middle and the climax of the story, while the conclusion contains the resolution. This is where This is where the conflicts are resolved. The conclusion, this is where the conflicts are resolved, and every other characters will know their fates. Okay? So one, the story must have a title written in either capital block or sentence case, but to make sure the title is centralized. The introduction is the first paragraph of the story, and this is like the beginning of the story. The body contains the crux of the story, the climax and the anticlimax, while the conclusion contains the denouement or the resolution. This is where all the conflicts are resolved. How to write a great story. How do you begin? Use that. The first one simply means dialogue. Begin your story. You can either begin your story with a dialogue. Get out. Hey, come here. I'll get you. Oh, you can start with that, or you can start your story with an action. One clean jump and the leopard sailed effortlessly over the wall, landing noiselessly inside Emma's father's compound. It made straight for the pen. Those are lines from The Bottled Leopard by Chukwemeka Ike. You can also start with description. This one is common. Then lived the man in faraway land, blah, blah, blah. Description. Okay, so you can either you begin your story with either a dialogue, action, or description. In your story, use a maximum of 3 characters. If you exceed 3 characters, you will end up writing not less than 850 words, and that will be 2 verbals for the examiner, and you will definitely lose marks. Now, number 3, use good character names. Please do not use names like Thor, okay? Do not use names like other supernatural names, like supernatural characters, like Superman, Batman, or Incredible Hulk, okay? So just use real character names. Let me use the word real here, okay? Like use real character names, not Thor, not Superman, not Batman, okay? Use real character names, not Iron Man. Use dialogue. Yes, the dialogue will help you bring your characters to life. Let them speak, okay? So that the examiner will feel he's watching a movie. Create setting. Yes, you must establish the setting. Where is your story set? The place and the time. Please do not write about the moon or the sun, okay? Write about a place on earth. This like you're talking about. Create suspense. Yes. Let the examiner be anxious that something is about to happen. Finally, end on a high note. Leave a lasting impression of your story. Let the examiner close your script with a lasting impression. It can be a line, okay? It can be a proverb. It can be a popular saying, okay? So just note, you're writing a story, you can begin with dialogue, action, or description. Use a maximum of 3 characters. If you ask me, I'll say 2. The other characters might not be speaking characters, okay? You can just mention their names. Use real character names. Please do not use supernatural names like Wonder Woman, or, okay? Use dialogue, real dialogue, okay? Create realistic setting, not the moon or space. Create suspense. Let the examiner, be anxiously waiting for something to happen. End on a high note, okay? Leave with a lasting impression of your story. Now, do not forget this, what we're talking about. As you're writing your story, do not make these mistakes. If you give a wrong spelling, you will lose half a mark for every wrong spelling you make. For example, you want to spell family and spell it this way, you lose half a mark. Poor punctuation mark, you lose half a mark. Even if you don't dot your small letter R, you lose half a mark here. Poor use of capital and small letters, you will lose half a mark for each. For every grammatical error, you will lose half a mark for each. Please, if you write less than 450 words, you will be penalized, okay? And also, do not be verbose. Do not give them 600 words, okay? So what I usually advise my students to do is to write at least 90 words per paragraph, and make sure you do not write more than 5 paragraphs. That's how you get to your 450 words. The grading system. They will grade you for the content. That means if they ask you to write about Gaddafi and you're writing about the birth of Jesus Christ, you will lose your full 10 marks here. Organization, how did you arrange your story? Beginning, middle, end? Are they sequenced or they are disjointed? Expression. The expression carries a chunk of the marks, and the expression here, the expression shows how skillful the writer uses language and style. Mechanical accuracy, the punctuation marks, the capital letters, the wrong spellings. This is where they will deduct half a mark for each. So the total here is 50 marks. Some students tell me they can never get 50 because of the negative marking system. I still tell them you can at least get 45. So remember, if you prefer writing a narrative or story writing, you must tell a story that will wow the examiner or the reader. And I told you, all you have to do is just to lie. Good lies. Thank you very much, and I wish you the best in your forthcoming WASSCE examinations.